Welcome to Storytime Audio, where every tale comes to life through the power of storytelling. Today, we bring you a gripping story of betrayal, resilience, and ultimate redemption in a tale titled Cheat Wife, a journey of justice and redemption. Imagine standing in a dimly lit courtroom, your heart pounding as the judge's final ruling echoes through the room. This is where Mark Johnson finds himself, grappling with the harsh reality of his divorce and the unfair burden placed upon him. But this story is not just about hardship, it's about fighting back, seeking justice, and rebuilding a life against all odds. Join us as we dive into Mark's world, where love, betrayal, and resilience intertwine in an unforgettable journey. Sit back, relax, and let Storytime Audio take you on a captivating adventure. Cheat Wife, a journey of justice and redemption. Mark Johnson stood in the dimly lit courtroom, his mind racing as he listened to the judge's final ruling. The harsh fluorescent lights cast a sterile glow over the room, reflecting off the polished wooden surfaces and the somber faces of those present. The judge's voice echoed in Mark's ears, each word hammering home the reality of his situation. The spousal support is set at $2,000 per month, and you'll continue paying the home mortgage of $1,000 for child support and health insurance until your child turns 18. Additionally, if your child attends college, you will cover those expenses as well, the judge stated firmly, his gavel poised in his hand. Mark felt his heart sink. The ruling would cost him over $6,500 every month, a significant burden despite his financial stability. His ex-wife, Sophia, stood across the courtroom, her face a mask of indifference. Their daughter, Emily, meant the world to Mark, and the thought of being separated from her was a knife to his heart. Emily had wanted to stay with him, but the judge had ruled otherwise. Mark's thoughts drifted back to happier times. He remembered meeting Sophia in 2010 at the Blue Lounge, a popular nightclub in downtown Chicago. Sophia had been a bright, ambitious woman, and they had quickly fallen in love. They married a year later, and Emily was born shortly after. Their early years together were filled with joy and hope. They bought a modest house in Forest Park, where they spent countless weekends working on home improvement projects and hosting backyard barbecues for friends and family. But as Sophia's career in law took off, things began to change. She insisted on moving to Northbrook, a more upscale neighborhood, to showcase their success. Mark, preferring a simpler lifestyle, reluctantly agreed. They purchased a $900,000 house and decorated it to Sophia's taste. However, the move marked the beginning of the end for their marriage. Sophia's ambition and desire for status drove a wedge between them, and Mark often found himself feeling out of place in their new home. As Sophia climbed the corporate ladder, Mark's suspicions grew. He wondered if she had traded favors to advance her career, but he had no concrete proof. Their arguments became more frequent, and Sophia's attitude toward him grew increasingly disdainful. She began making snide remarks about his preference for a modest lifestyle, and their once warm and loving relationship turned cold and distant. When Sophia's affair with multiple lawyers in her firm came to light, it was the final straw for Mark. The betrayal cut deep, and the subsequent divorce proceedings were bitter and contentious. Despite Sophia's infidelity, Mark felt like he was the one being punished. The judge's ruling seemed biased, favoring Sophia despite her substantial income and questionable behavior. Mark's frustration grew as he thought about the unfairness of the situation. He was determined not to take it lying down. He had always been resourceful, with a knack for seizing opportunities, even if some were a bit shady in the past. Now, as a successful real estate investor and owner of various businesses, including a coin change company, Mark was not about to let Sophia walk all over him. In the months following the divorce, Mark devised a plan to make Sophia regret crossing him. He decided to pay the $2,000 spousal support in coins, specifically in small denominations like pennies and nickels. The inconvenience and hassle of counting and transporting the coins would be a small but satisfying form of revenge. The first payment was delivered to Sophia's doorstep by an armored truck. As bags of coins were unloaded onto her front porch, curious neighbors gathered to watch the spectacle. Sophia, standing with a friend, was visibly confused and angry. Mark watched from a distance, a smirk playing on his lips as he waved and shouted, "Hope you enjoy your money, courtesy of your lover." Sophia's reaction was immediate. She screamed at Mark, but he simply waved and walked away. The humiliation and inconvenience of dealing with the coins were just the beginning of his plan. Mark knew that Sophia's high-flying lifestyle would be disrupted, and he reveled in the thought of her struggling to maintain her facade of success. As the weeks passed, Sophia's frustration grew. She filed a complaint, and Mark was served with a summons to appear in court. The hearing was set for the following Wednesday, giving Mark just a week to prepare. He spent the days leading up to the court date gathering evidence and strategizing with his lawyer. On the day of the hearing, Mark and his lawyer arrived at the courthouse early. Sophia and her lawyer were already there, smug and confident. As they entered the courtroom, Emily, who had joined Mark for support, tried to speak up but was quickly silenced by the judge. The proceedings were tense and confrontational. Sophia's lawyer accused Mark of deliberately making her life difficult by paying in coins, which had damaged her floor and taken hours to clean up. Mark's lawyer countered by citing the legal statute that recognized coins and bills as acceptable forms of payment. Despite the heated arguments, the judge seemed inclined to side with Sophia. Mark's frustration boiled over, and he couldn't hold back. He stood up and accused the judge of being biased and possibly involved with Sophia. The outburst resulted in a contempt of court charge, and Mark was sentenced to 6 months in Cook County Jail unless he apologized and agreed to the judge's demands. Mark's refusal to back down earned him a trip to jail. As he was escorted out of the courtroom, he glanced at Sophia and her lawyer, their expressions a mix of shock and triumph. "Good luck getting your dirty money now," he thought to himself as he was led away. Mark Johnson's first day in Cook County Jail was a harsh reality check. The cold, sterile environment was a far cry from the comfort of his home. As he was processed and led to his cell, Mark couldn't help but reflect on the events that had led him here. His anger and frustration were still fresh, fueling his determination to see his plans through. The cell block was noisy and chaotic, filled with the sounds of shouting inmates and clanging metal doors. Mark was no stranger to tough situations, but he knew he had to be cautious. He decided to keep a low profile and avoid trouble as much as possible. However, he also knew he couldn't afford to show any signs of weakness. As he settled into his new routine, Mark spent his days working out, reading, and thinking about his next moves. He had already started laying the groundwork for his plan, but now he had to adjust to life behind bars. One evening, as he was eating dinner in the crowded mess hall, he heard a familiar voice call out to him. "Hey Tex, is that you?" Mark looked up, surprised to see a familiar face. It was Lucas, Spike, Carter, an old friend from his delinquent days. Spike had always been a tough, resourceful guy, and seeing him here was both a surprise and a relief. They exchanged greetings, and Mark felt a sense of reassurance knowing he had an ally in this place. Spike filled Mark in on the unwritten rules of the prison and the key players among the inmates. He also promised to watch Mark's back, just as he had done when they were younger. Their friendship had been forged in the tough streets of Chicago, and now it would be tested again in the confines of the jail. Over the next few weeks, Mark and Spike reconnected, reminiscing about their past and discussing their current predicaments. Spike had been involved in various schemes over the years, and his knowledge of the prison system was invaluable. He introduced Mark to a few other inmates who could be trusted, creating a small circle of allies. Mark's thoughts often drifted back to Sophia and Emily. He missed his daughter terribly and worried about how she was coping with the situation. Emily had always been strong-willed, and he hoped she was handling things as best as she could. He also thought about Sophia and her smug lawyer friends, plotting how he could make them pay for their actions. One day, Mark received a visit from his lawyer, Daniel. Daniel had been working tirelessly to gather evidence and build a case to challenge the judge's ruling. He also brought news from the outside world, updating Mark on Sophia's attempts to maintain her luxurious lifestyle despite the challenges he had thrown her way. "She's struggling, Mark," Daniel said with a smirk. "Your little coin stunt really hit her hard. She's been complaining to anyone who will listen, but there's not much she can do." Mark felt a sense of satisfaction hearing this. It was a small victory, but it reaffirmed his belief that he could turn the tables on Sophia. He discussed his plans with Daniel, who offered advice and support, promising to continue fighting on his behalf. As Mark's time in jail progressed, he became more accustomed to the daily routines and the dynamics among the inmates. He kept himself in shape, using the makeshift gym equipment available, and maintained a strict exercise regimen. His physical strength and imposing presence helped deter potential threats, and his alliance with Spike and the other inmates ensured he had backup if needed. Despite the challenges, Mark never lost sight of his goal. He spent hours in his cell, meticulously planning his next moves. He knew he had to be patient and strategic, waiting for the right opportunities to strike. His time in jail was a temporary setback, but he was determined to come out stronger and more prepared than ever. One evening, as Mark and Spike were playing cards in the common area, a new inmate arrived. The buzz among the inmates was immediate, and Mark's curiosity was piqued. The newcomer was tall and muscular, with a no-nonsense demeanor that commanded respect. Spike leaned over and whispered to Mark, "That's Ethan, Razor, Bennett. Heard he used to run with some serious crews back in the day. Might be worth getting to know him." Mark nodded, intrigued. He watched as Ethan was introduced to the other inmates and quickly established himself as someone not to be messed with. Over the next few days, Mark observed Ethan from a distance, sizing him up and considering how he might fit into his plans. Eventually, Mark decided to approach Ethan. He waited for an opportunity when they were both alone in the yard, taking a break from the constant noise and chaos of the prison. "Hey, Ethan," Mark said, extending a hand. "Name's Mark Johnson, but people call me Tex. Spike mentioned you might be someone worth talking to." Ethan looked at Mark's hand for a moment before shaking it firmly. "I've heard about you, Tex. Word gets around in here. What's on your mind?" Mark appreciated Ethan's directness. "I've got some business on the outside that needs handling. I'm looking for someone with the right connections and skills to help me out." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What kind of business?" Mark explained his situation briefly, outlining his plans to take down Sophia and her associates. Ethan listened carefully, nodding occasionally. "I see," Ethan said thoughtfully. "Sounds like you've got a solid plan, but it's risky. What's in it for me?" Mark had anticipated this question. "You help me, and I can make sure you get a cut of the profits from my businesses once I'm out. Plus, having an ally on the outside might come in handy for you too." Ethan considered the offer for a moment before nodding. "All right, Tex, you got yourself a deal. But remember, if I get involved, I expect you to follow through on your promises." Mark smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "Deal, let's get to work." With Ethan on board, Mark's plans began to take shape more quickly. They spent hours discussing strategies and coordinating with Spike and the other inmates. Mark's determination and resourcefulness, combined with Ethan's connections and experience, created a formidable team. As the days turned into weeks, Mark's reputation within the prison grew. Inmates began to see him as a force to be reckoned with, and even the guards took notice. Mark used this to his advantage, leveraging his influence to gather information and resources. One evening, as Mark was working out in the yard, he received a message from one of the guards. It was from his daughter, Emily. His heart skipped a beat as he opened the letter, eager to hear from her. "Dear Dad, I miss you so much. Things have been tough, but I'm trying to stay strong. Mom is still mad about the coins, but I think it's kind of funny. I've been talking to Dr. Jessica Ford a lot, and she's been really helpful. She's a good friend to me, and I'm glad she's around. I can't wait for you to come home. I know you're doing everything you can to make things right, and I believe in you. Stay strong, Dad. I love you. Love, Emily." Mark felt a wave of emotion wash over him as he read Emily's words. Her strength and resilience gave him renewed determination. He knew he couldn't let her down. He had to see his plans through to the end, not just for himself, but for Emily. With his resolve strengthened, Mark threw himself into his work with even more intensity. He coordinated with Daniel, who continued to gather evidence and build a case. He also worked closely with Ethan and Spike, ensuring their plans were airtight and ready to execute when the time was right. As the weeks turned into months, Mark's network of allies both inside and outside the prison grew. He received updates from Daniel, who informed him that Sophia was becoming increasingly desperate. The pressure was getting to her, and she was starting to make mistakes. One day, Mark received a visit from his brother, Ethan. It was a welcome surprise, and the two brothers embraced warmly. "Ethan, it's good to see you," Mark said, feeling a sense of relief. "You too, Mark. How are you holding up?" Ethan asked, concern evident in his voice. "I'm managing. Got a few good people watching my back, Mark replied, glancing at Spike and Ethan. Ethan nodded. That's good to hear. Listen, I've been doing some digging on the outside. I think we might have found a way to expose Sophia and her lawyer friends. It's risky, but it could be the break we need. Mark listened intently as Ethan outlined the plan. It involved gathering evidence of Sophia's affairs and her involvement in illegal activities at the law firm. They would use this information to leverage a more favorable outcome in Mark's case and potentially bring down the corrupt lawyers who had sided with her. It's a long shot, but it's worth a try, Ethan concluded. We've got some contacts who can help, but we'll need to move quickly. Mark felt a surge of hope. Let's do it. Whatever it takes, I want to see them pay for what they've done. With Ethan's help, Mark's plan gained momentum. They coordinated with their contacts on the outside, gathering evidence and preparing for the right moment to strike. Mark's time in jail had transformed him from a man seeking revenge to a strategist plotting a meticulous takedown. As the days counted down to his release, Mark's resolve never wavered. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was prepared to face it head-on. With his allies by his side and his determination unshaken, Mark was ready to reclaim his life and bring justice to those who had wronged him. Months passed, and Mark Johnson's resolve only strengthened. Life in Cook County Jail had been a test of his endurance, but it had also provided him with the time and focus needed to refine his plans. With Ethan's assistance and Spike's support, he had created a network of allies and contacts that extended beyond the prison walls. One day, Mark received an unexpected visit from his daughter, Emily. The guards escorted him to the visitation room, where he found Emily waiting with a determined look on her face. She was accompanied by Dr. Jessica Ford, the family counselor who had been helping Emily navigate the tumultuous events of the past year. "Dad," Emily exclaimed as soon as she saw him. She rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Mark hugged her back, feeling a surge of emotion. "Emily, it's so good to see you. How are you holding up?" "I'm doing okay," Emily replied, her voice steady. "Dr. Ford has been a big help. We wanted to talk to you about something important." Mark glanced at Dr. Ford, who nodded in agreement. "We've been discussing the situation with Sophia and the court. Emily has something she wants to propose." Emily took a deep breath and looked up at her father with determination. "Dad, I want to testify on your behalf. I want to tell the court the truth about what's been happening and how unfairly you've been treated." Mark was taken aback. The idea of putting Emily in the spotlight was concerning, but he could see the resolve in her eyes. "Emily, are you sure about this? It's a lot to take on." "I am, Dad," Emily insisted. "I've talked it over with Dr. Ford, and she agrees that my testimony could make a difference. We need to fight back, and I want to help." Dr. Ford nodded in agreement. "Emily is strong and capable, Mark. Her voice could be a powerful asset in your case. We've already discussed this with your lawyer, Daniel, and he's on board." Mark felt a surge of pride and gratitude. His daughter was willing to stand up for him, and with the support of Dr. Ford and Daniel, they had a real chance at turning the tide. "All right, Emily, if you're sure about this, let's do it. We'll fight back together." Over the next few weeks, Mark and his team worked tirelessly to prepare for the upcoming court hearing. Emily's testimony would be a crucial part of their strategy, and they rehearsed her statements to ensure she was ready for any questions the opposing lawyers might throw at her. As the court date approached, tensions ran high. Mark's time in jail had hardened his resolve, but the stakes were higher than ever. He was determined to see justice served and to protect his daughter from the fallout of their battle with Sophia. The day of the hearing arrived, and Mark was escorted from the jail to the courthouse. The atmosphere was tense, with reporters and onlookers gathered outside, eager for any updates on the high-profile case. Mark's lawyer, Daniel, met him at the entrance, offering a reassuring nod. Inside the courtroom, Mark saw Sophia and her lawyer seated at the opposite table. Sophia looked confident, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes as she glanced at Emily, who was seated next to Dr. Ford. The judge called the court to order, and the proceedings began. Sophia's lawyer presented their case, focusing on Mark's alleged misconduct and the inconvenience caused by his coin payments. Mark's lawyer countered with evidence of Sophia's affairs and the unfair bias in the original ruling. Finally, it was time for Emily to take the stand. She walked up confidently, glancing at her father for reassurance before addressing the court. "Your Honor, my name is Emily Johnson. I'm here to tell the truth about what's been happening between my parents and how it's affected me." Emily's testimony was heartfelt and compelling. She spoke about the unfair treatment her father had received, the impact of Sophia's actions on their family, and her desire to live with her father. She also recounted the support she had received from Dr. Ford and how it had helped her cope with the situation. The courtroom was silent as Emily finished her statement. The judge listened intently, nodding occasionally. When she was done, the opposing lawyer tried to discredit her testimony, but Emily remained composed, answering their questions with confidence. As the hearing concluded, the judge took a moment to review the evidence and testimony presented. Mark held his breath, waiting for the verdict. The judge finally spoke, his tone measured and thoughtful. After careful consideration of the evidence and testimony, I find that the original ruling was indeed biased and unjust. Mr. Johnson, your actions, while unconventional, were within the bounds of the law. Therefore, I am amending the custody arrangement to grant you primary custody of Emily. A wave of relief washed over Mark as he heard the judge's decision. He glanced at Emily, who smiled through tears of joy. Sophia's expression was one of shock and disbelief, her confidence shattered. The judge continued, addressing the financial aspect of the ruling. Furthermore, the spousal support payments will be adjusted to reflect a more equitable arrangement. Both parties are expected to act in the best interest of their child moving forward. With the judge's final words, the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Mark felt a sense of vindication and triumph. He had fought hard for this moment, and it had finally paid off. As they left the courthouse, Mark hugged Emily tightly. "You were amazing, Emily. Thank you for standing up for me." Emily beamed with pride. "We did it, Dad. We're finally free." Dr. Ford joined them, offering her congratulations. "You both did an incredible job. This is a new beginning for your family." Mark nodded, feeling a sense of hope for the first time in months. "Yes, it is. And I couldn't have done it without all of you." With the court battle behind them, Mark and Emily began to rebuild their lives. They moved back into their home in Forest Park, where they could finally find peace and stability. Mark continued to work on his businesses, with renewed determination to provide for his daughter and create a secure future for them both. Sophia, on the other hand, faced the consequences of her actions. Her reputation was tarnished, and she struggled to regain her footing in her career. The lavish lifestyle she had once enjoyed was no longer sustainable, and she had to come to terms with the choices she had made. For Mark, the journey had been long and arduous, but he had emerged stronger and more resilient. He had learned the importance of standing up for what was right and fighting for the people he loved. With Emily by his side, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their ability to overcome them together. Mark and Emily settled into their new life in Forest Park, finding comfort and stability in the familiar surroundings of their old home. The community welcomed them back, and Mark's friends and neighbors offered their support. Emily returned to her old school, reuniting with friends and rediscovering the joy of a simpler, more grounded life. Mark threw himself into his work, focusing on expanding his real estate business and diversifying his investments. His coin change company continued to thrive, and he explored new opportunities in the market. With a renewed sense of purpose, Mark was determined to secure a stable and prosperous future for himself and Emily. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Emily looked at her father with a thoughtful expression. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened. It wasn't just about the court case or the money. It was about standing up for what's right." Mark nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "You're absolutely right, Emily. It's about fighting for justice and protecting the people we care about. That's a lesson I hope you'll carry with you throughout your life." Emily smiled, her eyes reflecting her resolve. "I will, Dad, and I want to help you with your business too. Maybe I can learn more about real estate and investments." Mark felt a surge of pride. "I'd love that, Emily. We'll make a great team." As the weeks passed, Mark and Emily found a new rhythm in their lives. They spent weekends exploring the local parks, attending community events, and enjoying each other's company. Emily excelled in school, and her confidence grew with each passing day. Despite the progress they made, Mark couldn't shake the lingering sense of unfinished business. Sophia and her lawyer friends had caused them so much pain, and Mark was determined to ensure they faced the consequences of their actions. He continued to gather information and work with Ethan and his contacts to build a case against them. One afternoon, Mark received a call from Ethan. "Mark, We've got some solid evidence against Sophia and her associates. It's time to take action. Mark's heart raced with anticipation. What do you have? Ethan explained that they had obtained documents and recordings that exposed Sophia's unethical practices and her involvement in the illegal activities at the law firm. The evidence was damning and would be enough to bring down not only Sophia but also the corrupt lawyers who had supported her. We need to be strategic about this, Ethan continued. If we play our cards right, we can ensure maximum impact and make sure they can't escape the consequences. Mark agreed, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Let's do it. They need to be held accountable. With Ethan's guidance, Mark began coordinating with their contacts in the media and law enforcement. They prepared a comprehensive dossier of evidence, ensuring that every detail was meticulously documented. The plan was to release the information simultaneously to multiple news outlets, creating a media storm that would be impossible to ignore. The day of the release arrived, and Mark felt a mix of nerves and excitement. He and Emily sat in their living room, watching the news coverage unfold. As the anchors began reporting on the scandal, Mark felt a sense of vindication. The story quickly gained traction, and the public outrage was palpable. Sophia and her associates were caught off guard by the sudden media attention. Their attempts to downplay the allegations and deflect blame only fueled the public's anger. Investigations were launched, and the law firm faced mounting pressure to address the accusations. Mark watched with satisfaction as the people who had wronged him were finally held accountable. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice and ensuring that those who abused their power faced the consequences. In the weeks that followed, the fallout from the scandal continued to reverberate through the legal community. Several lawyers were disbarred, and the law firm was forced to undergo a complete overhaul. Sophia's career was in tatters, and she struggled to rebuild her life in the wake of the revelations. For Mark, the victory was bittersweet. He had achieved his goal, but the journey had been long and arduous. As he looked at Emily, he knew that the most important thing was that they had each other and a future filled with possibilities. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Emily turned to her father with a smile. "Dad, we did it. We made it through the toughest times and came out stronger." Mark nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. "Yes, we did, Emily. And I couldn't have done it without you." Emily's eyes sparkled with determination. "What's next for us, Dad?" Mark thought for a moment, considering the possibilities. "We keep moving forward. We build our business, support each other, and make the most of every opportunity. The best is yet to come." With their past struggles behind them, Mark and Emily looked to the future with hope and optimism. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. Months turned into years, and Mark and Emily continued to build their lives in Forest Park. Mark's businesses flourished, and Emily grew into a confident and capable young woman. They had found a new sense of normalcy, grounded in the love and support they had for each other. One sunny afternoon, as they were working in the garden, Emily received a phone call. It was Dr. Jessica Ford, who had become a close family friend over the years. "Emily, I have some exciting news," Dr. Ford said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "I've been offered a position at a prestigious mental health clinic in New York City. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I wanted to let you know that I'll be moving there soon." Emily felt a mix of emotions. She was happy for Dr. Ford but also sad at the thought of her moving away. "That's amazing, Dr. Ford. I'm so happy for you. But we'll miss you a lot." Dr. Ford's voice softened. "I'll miss you too, Emily. But we'll stay in touch, and you can always visit me in New York. And who knows, maybe you'll find your own opportunities there one day." Emily smiled, feeling a sense of excitement at the prospect. "I'd love to visit. Thank you for everything, Dr. Ford." After the call, Emily shared the news with Mark. He was genuinely happy for Dr. Ford but also shared Emily's sentiment of missing a dear friend. "New York, huh?" Mark mused. "It's a big city with a lot of opportunities. Maybe we should plan a trip there sometime." Emily's eyes lit up. "That would be amazing, Dad. I'd love to see New York and explore all it has to offer." As they continued their conversation, Mark realized that the future held endless possibilities. They had come so far, and now it was time to embrace new adventures and experiences. In the following months, Mark and Emily planned their trip to New York. They coordinated with Dr. Ford, who was thrilled to show them around the city and introduce them to her new colleagues. The anticipation of the trip added a sense of excitement to their lives, and they looked forward to the journey. When the day finally arrived, Mark and Emily boarded a plane to New York, eager to explore the city and reconnect with Dr. Ford. As they flew over the bustling metropolis, Emily marveled at the skyscrapers and the vibrant energy of the city below. Their first stop was Dr. Ford's clinic, a state-of-the-art facility dedicated to mental health and wellness. Dr. Ford greeted them with open arms, giving them a tour of the clinic and introducing them to her team. Emily was particularly interested in the work being done at the clinic and asked numerous questions about the programs and therapies offered. Over the next few days, Dr. Ford took them on a whirlwind tour of New York City. They visited iconic landmarks like Times Square, Central Park, and the Statue of Liberty. They also explored cultural hotspots like the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Broadway, immersing themselves in the rich tapestry of the city's culture and history. One evening, as they dined at a cozy restaurant in Greenwich Village, Dr. Ford shared her thoughts on the importance of mental health and the work she was doing at the clinic. "Mark, Emily, I've always admired your resilience and strength. You've been through so much, and yet you've come out stronger. It's a testament to your character and determination," Dr. Ford said, raising her glass in a toast. Mark felt a deep sense of gratitude. "Thank you, Jessica. Your support has meant the world to us. We're so proud of what you've accomplished here." Emily nodded in agreement. "Dr. Ford, you've been an inspiration to me. Seeing the work you're doing here has made me realize how important it is to help others and make a difference in their lives." Dr. Ford smiled warmly. "I'm glad to hear that, Emily. You have the potential to do great things, and I have no doubt that you'll make a positive impact wherever you go." Their trip to New York was a transformative experience, filled with new insights and possibilities. As they prepared to return to Forest Park, Mark and Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement for the future. Back home, they continued to work on their business and contribute to their community. Mark expanded his real estate investments, focusing on projects that revitalized neighborhoods and provided affordable housing. Emily, inspired by her experiences in New York, decided to pursue a degree in psychology with the goal of helping others the way Dr. Ford had helped her. Years later, Emily graduated with honors and began working at a local mental health clinic. Her passion and dedication earned her respect and admiration from her colleagues and clients. Mark, now a successful entrepreneur and community leader, took pride in his daughter's achievements and the positive impact they were making together. One evening, as they sat on the porch, reflecting on their journey, Mark turned to Emily with a smile. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Emily nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude and determination. "Yes, we have, Dad. And there's still so much more to do." Mark wrapped his arm around his daughter, feeling a profound sense of contentment. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. We've built a strong foundation, and I know we'll continue to grow and thrive." As the sun set over Forest Park, Mark and Emily looked forward to the future with hope and optimism. They had overcome adversity, rebuilt their lives, and found a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they were ready to embrace the next chapter of their journey, confident in their ability to face any challenge and make a positive difference in the world. With Emily now working at the local mental health clinic and Mark's business ventures thriving, their lives began to settle into a comfortable and fulfilling routine. Yet, both Mark and Emily felt a pull towards something bigger, a desire to expand their horizons and make an even greater impact on their community and beyond. One crisp autumn morning, Mark received an intriguing email from an old college friend, Sarah, who had become a prominent figure in the nonprofit sector. Sarah's organization, Community Builders Network, CBN, was launching a new initiative aimed at revitalizing underprivileged neighborhoods across the country. She invited Mark to join the initiative, leveraging his real estate expertise and business acumen to help transform communities. Mark felt a surge of excitement as he read the email. The opportunity to work with CBN aligned perfectly with his values and his desire to give back. He called Sarah immediately to discuss the details. "Sarah, it's been too long. I'm thrilled about this initiative. Tell me more," Mark said, his enthusiasm evident. "Mark, it's great to hear your voice," Sarah replied warmly. "We're focusing on sustainable development, affordable housing, and community empowerment. We believe your experience and insight could be invaluable to our efforts." Mark agreed to join the initiative, eager to contribute his skills to a cause that resonated deeply with him. Over the next few weeks, he attended meetings and workshops, collaborating with like-minded professionals dedicated to making a positive impact. The work was challenging, but it reignited a sense of purpose within him. Meanwhile, Emily was flourishing in her role at the mental health clinic. She had become a pillar of support for her clients, drawing from her own experiences to empathize and connect with them. Her dedication and compassion did not go unnoticed, and she was soon promoted to lead several community outreach programs. One evening, after a long day of work, Mark and Emily sat down to dinner. The conversation quickly turned to their new endeavors. "Dad, I'm so proud of the work you're doing with CBN," Emily said, her eyes shining with admiration. "It's amazing to see how much you've accomplished." Mark smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. "Thank you, Emily. I'm proud of you too. The way you've dedicated yourself to helping others is truly inspiring. Together, we're making a real difference." Emily nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You know, Dad, I've been thinking about how we can combine our efforts. Your work in revitalizing neighborhoods and my work in mental health could intersect in meaningful ways. Imagine creating spaces that not only provide affordable housing but also offer mental health services and community support." Mark's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's a brilliant idea, Emily. We could create holistic communities that address multiple needs, ensuring that people have access to both safe housing and essential services. Let's explore this further." They spent the next few months developing their vision, meeting with stakeholders, and drafting proposals. Their passion and commitment attracted attention, and they soon garnered support from local government officials, businesses, and other nonprofit organizations. Their first project was a pilot community in a struggling neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago. The area had been plagued by neglect and economic hardship, but Mark and Emily saw its potential. They worked tirelessly, coordinating with contractors, social workers, and community leaders to bring their vision to life. The transformation was remarkable. Abandoned buildings were renovated into affordable housing units, a community center was established to offer mental health services, job training programs, and recreational activities. The neighborhood began to thrive, with residents taking pride in their revitalized community. Emily took a leading role in the mental health services, organizing support groups and workshops to help residents cope with stress and trauma. She also implemented programs for children and teens, providing them with safe spaces to learn, play, and grow. Mark oversaw the construction and development aspects, ensuring that the projects were completed on time and within budget. He also focused on securing funding and resources, leveraging his network to bring in investors and donors. As the project progressed, Mark and Emily's bond grew even stronger. They worked side by side, facing challenges together and celebrating their successes. The community's response was overwhelmingly positive, with residents expressing gratitude and newfound hope. One afternoon, as they walked through the newly developed neighborhood, Mark and Emily were approached by a young woman named Maria. She was a single mother who had moved into one of the affordable housing units with her 2 children. "Mr. Johnson, Ms. Johnson," Maria began, her voice filled with emotion. "I just wanted to thank you. This community has changed our lives. My kids have a safe place to play, and I've been able to attend job training programs that have opened up new opportunities for us. I can't thank you enough." Mark and Emily were deeply moved by Maria's words. "Maria, your story is exactly why we do this," Mark said, his voice steady. "We're so glad to see you and your children thriving." Emily nodded in agreement. "It's stories like yours that inspire us to keep going. We're here to support you and your family in any way we can." As they continued their walk, Mark and Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had turned their vision into reality, creating a model for community development that could be replicated in other areas. Their efforts were making a tangible difference, and they were determined to continue expanding their work. Their success with the pilot project attracted national attention. Media outlets featured stories about the revitalized neighborhood, and other cities expressed interest in adopting the model. Mark and Emily were invited to speak at conferences and workshops, sharing their insights and experiences. Despite their growing fame, they remained grounded and focused on their mission. They knew that the true measure of their success was the positive impact they had on the lives of individuals and families. One evening, as they sat on their porch, reflecting on their journey, Emily turned to her father with a smile. "Dad, we've come so far. But there's still so much more we can do. Let's keep pushing forward." Mark nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride and determination. "Absolutely, Emily. We've built a strong foundation, and we're just getting started. Together, we'll continue to make a difference." With their shared vision and unwavering commitment, Mark and Emily embarked on the next phase of their journey. They expanded their efforts to other cities, partnering with local organizations and communities to replicate their model of holistic development. Their work became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to join the movement and create positive change in their own neighborhoods. Mark and Emily's legacy grew, not just as successful professionals, but as compassionate and dedicated leaders who transformed lives and communities. Years later, as they looked back on their journey, they saw a tapestry of challenges overcome, lives changed, and dreams realized. Their bond as father and daughter had deepened, and their shared mission had brought them closer than ever. In the end, Mark and Emily had not only rebuilt their own lives but had also created a ripple effect of positive change that would continue to inspire and uplift others for generations to come. As the years passed, Mark and Emily's impact continued to grow, and their model of community development was adopted in cities across the country. They had built a legacy that would endure for generations, but their story was far from over. The next chapter would involve passing the torch to a new generation of leaders. Emily, now a seasoned professional in the field of mental health and community development, began mentoring young professionals and students who were passionate about making a difference. She shared her experiences, insights, and the lessons she had learned from her journey with her father. One of her most promising mentees was a young woman named Mia. Mia had grown up in a struggling neighborhood similar to the ones Mark and Emily had transformed. She was determined to give back to her community and create opportunities for others. "Emily, your work has been such an inspiration to me," Mia said one afternoon during a mentoring session. "I want to learn everything I can and bring these changes to my own neighborhood." Emily smiled, seeing a reflection of her younger self in Mia. "You have the passion and the drive, Mia. Together, we can make that happen. Let's start by developing a plan for your neighborhood and identifying the key areas where we can make the most impact." Mia's enthusiasm and dedication were infectious, and she quickly became an integral part of Emily and Mark's team. They worked together to secure funding, build partnerships, and implement their model of holistic community development in Mia's neighborhood. The transformation was profound. Mia's neighborhood, once plagued by neglect and disrepair, began to flourish. Abandoned buildings were renovated, community centers were established, and new opportunities for education and employment emerged. The residents took pride in their community, and Mia's leadership inspired others to get involved. Mark and Emily watched with pride as Mia and other young leaders took the reins, driving positive change in their communities. They had built a strong foundation, and now they were witnessing the fruits of their labor as the next generation carried their legacy forward. One evening, as they gathered with Mia and her team to celebrate their achievements, Mark felt a deep sense of fulfillment. "You've done an incredible job, Mia. Your dedication and hard work have made a real difference." Mia beamed with pride. "Thank you, Mark. I couldn't have done it without your guidance and support. You and Emily have shown us what's possible, and now it's our turn to continue the work." Emily nodded, her eyes shining with emotion. "We're so proud of you, Mia. You've taken our vision and made it your own. The future is bright, and I know you'll continue to make a positive impact." As the celebration continued, Mark and Emily reflected on their journey and the incredible progress they had made. They had faced challenges and setbacks, but their unwavering commitment to their mission had carried them through. They had created a lasting legacy, one that would continue to inspire and uplift communities for generations to come. Their work was a testament to the power of resilience, compassion, and the unbreakable bond between a father and daughter. Together, they had transformed lives, built stronger communities, and created a brighter future for all. As they stood side by side, watching the next generation take the lead, Mark and Emily knew that their journey was far from over. There were still challenges to face and new opportunities to seize. But with their hearts full of hope and their spirits undaunted, they were ready to continue their mission and make a lasting impact on the world. And so, the story of Mark and Emily Johnson continued, a tale of love, resilience, and the power of community. Their legacy would live on, inspiring others to believe in the possibility of change and the power of working together to create a better world. With the future stretching out before them, Mark and Emily embraced the next chapter of their journey, confident in their ability to face whatever challenges lay ahead and determined to continue making a difference, one community at a time. Years later, as Mark and Emily looked back on their journey, they were filled with a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment. They had built a legacy that had transformed countless lives and communities, and their impact continued to ripple out into the world. Mark, now in his late 60s, had taken on a more advisory role, supporting Emily and the new generation of leaders from behind the scenes. Emily, in her prime, was a respected figure in the field of community development and mental health, continuing to drive positive change and inspire others. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on the porch of their home in Forest Park, Mark turned to Emily with a smile. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Emily nodded, her eyes filled with pride and love. "Yes, we have, Dad. And we've made a real difference. I'm so grateful for everything we've accomplished together." Mark's gaze grew thoughtful. "You know, Emily, our journey wasn't just about the work we did. It was about the lessons we learned along the way. The importance of resilience, the power of community, and the strength of our bond as father and daughter." Emily reached out and took her father's hand. "Those lessons have shaped who we are and how we approach our work. They've guided us through the toughest times and helped us achieve our greatest successes." As they sat together, reflecting on their journey, they were joined by Mia and a group of young leaders who had been mentored by Emily. They gathered on the porch, sharing stories and laughter, a testament to the enduring legacy of Mark and Emily's work. Mia, now a seasoned leader in her own right, turned to Mark and Emily with a smile. "Your story has inspired so many of us. It's a reminder that with determination, compassion, and the support of a strong community, anything is possible." Mark felt a surge of pride as he looked at the faces of the young leaders gathered around him. "You are the future, and I have no doubt that you will continue to make a positive impact. Remember the lessons we've learned and carry them with you as you face new challenges." Emily nodded in agreement. "We've built something incredible together, and now it's your turn to carry the torch. Keep pushing forward, keep believing in the power of community, and never forget the importance of resilience and compassion." As the sun set over Forest Park, Mark and Emily felt a deep sense of peace. They had faced adversity and emerged stronger, driven by a shared vision of a brighter future. Their legacy would live on, inspiring others to believe in the possibility of change and the power of working together to create a better world. And so, the story of Mark and Emily Johnson continued, a tale of love, resilience, and the power of community. Their legacy would endure, a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. With their hearts full of hope and their spirits undaunted, Mark and Emily embraced the future, ready to face new challenges and create lasting change, one community at a time. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Cheat of Wife, a journey of justice and redemption. Mark Johnson's story is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of justice, and the strength of the human spirit. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Storytime Audio for more captivating tales. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Have a story suggestion or a comment? We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Until next time, keep believing in the power of stories and the strength within you. This is Storytime Audio, signing off.